Hanson Counselling Service. I also went live on my Instagram, which is Marianne Hanson Counsellor, and this is my last live stream today. As you know, every Monday I go live. I was going to just say, because it's bank holiday, I wasn't going to go live, but because I'm working anyway today, I've got a few appointments. I thought, what's the point in me not doing this, because I'm still going to be working. So if you, everyone's heard of the saying, fear of missing out, FOMO, but there's a new thing. I don't know how new it is, but I was reading an article about it, and that is fear of better options, so FOBO. When I was doing the live streams, actually, quite a few people have been coming on with the comments saying that this is something that affects them. This is something that they're familiar with. So if you want to add your comments, feel free to. And also you can share this with other people if you feel that they'll be interested. So fear of better options. I'm just going to go through some of the, not symptoms, but some of the things that could identify that you have a fear of better options. And then I'm going to talk about them in more depth. So you constantly second guess your choices. You find it hard to make small decisions quickly. You're always comparing your choices with other people and your experiences with other people's experiences. You spend too long with your options. You need a lot of reassurance from other people before moving ahead. You regret the choices you make. You cancel last minute, sometimes when you've said yes to things. You never feel satisfied. You get caught up in minor details. You feel anxious after choosing, and you put off important decisions indefinitely. So without going into all of these, but you can go to my YouTube, Facebook page, Marianne Hanson Counselling Service, where I did talk about these in depth. On the Instagram, it's live stream, it's slightly different as well from this one. The whole thing behind it really is just that you are so caught up with making the wrong decision that you don't have an idea of what the right decision is. And the point of this is that there is really no right decision that you can ever make. You can't see the future, so you can't predict how that decision is going to pan out. You can't have all of the information. You can only have a certain amount of information. So therefore, you can't. Hi, I'm Vinod. So therefore, you can't ever make the perfect decision. All you can do is gather the information and decide. And so what people tend to do is, because they're overwhelmed by all of the information that's in front of them, hi, I'm City, because they're so overwhelmed with all the information that's in front of them, it kind of puts this barrier up, and it kind of makes them then feel incompetent to choose. So then you start to say, well, all of these options are in front of me. So if you take it back to like when children are really young, a parent wouldn't say to a toddler who's 2 or 3 years old, here's a menu of what you can eat. Here's 20 different dishes for you to choose from. They wouldn't cook all of those things for the toddler, put them in front of the table, seat the toddler down and say, right, now you choose what you're going to eat. It's too overwhelming, it's too much. But then if a child gets to, say, age 10 and they go into a birthday party, the parent might say, here are 3 outfits that I've chosen for you. You can choose. And if we start young with children, by letting them make decisions where there's no consequences, they're not going to get in trouble if they make a decision of what they're going to wear. They're not going to get in trouble if they... Then it becomes easier. And then as adults, we need to do that with ourselves. We need to stop, like as it said on here, you know, regretting your decision, feeling anxious after you've made the decision, comparing yourself with others when you've made the decision. We need to stop doing all of that. We just need to decide. Decide based on the information we have. Decide based on our gut instinct. Decide based on what we feel in our heart. Decide based on the fact that what's the worst that can happen? You know, there are some really big decisions that you make where you might regret it. You may decide to take a job that takes you to maybe another direction. You may regret it, but the point is it's pointless having regrets. All you can say to yourself at that time is that when I was deciding, this is the system I used. I used the pros and the cons system. I used the flipping a coin system, which I wouldn't recommend, but you know, if that's what you decided to go with, then live with it. Then say to yourself, you know, I said I was going to toss a coin and decide based on that. Well, that's what I did. When it then goes wrong, or if it doesn't work out, you can't then blame yourself and say, well, oh, it's my fault because all of this. Because the whole thing of fear of better options really comes down to feeling like whatever decision you make, hi, come shot, whatever short, I think, you know, I think I've said your name wrong, and MD Ratsomia, hi, whatever decision you make, really, you have to just like get to a point where you're at peace with it, where you are not like beating yourself. Like the way that I live anyway, this is just me. I think that so if I decided, so there's lots of decisions I've made which are around either finance, studying, or relationships. They're probably the bigger ones that I've made in my life. There's loads of directions which I could have gone at different points. I could have maybe chose a certain course to do at a particular time. I could have chose not to do certain degrees, or chose different jobs, or chose different partners, or chose different money decisions that I've spent my money. I don't regret any of them, because I think that if I'd have gone a different direction, how do I know where I would have ended up? You don't know where you're going to end up. So the point is, there's no point in berating yourself for what you chose like last week or a few weeks ago. All you can do is say to yourself, at that time, this is the situation I was in, and that's why I did it. So one of the things it says on here about putting off important decisions indefinitely, this comes up a lot, especially with the clients I work with over the years. So they're in a situation where they're not quite certain on whether they want to go for this job, or they're not quite sure on whether they want to be in this relationship, or they're not quite sure on this, that and the other. So what they tend to do then is get themselves worked up so much, because they're saying, well, what if I choose this job and then it's the wrong job? Or what if I don't choose this other job and then I regret it? Or what if? We can't live on what ifs, but what happens then is that you get yourself stuck. So one of the key things to say to yourself is, would you prefer, you have to weigh up as a person, would it be worse that you stay stuck and you don't make any decision at all, or that you make a decision and maybe it doesn't work out? The majority of people would say they'd rather make a decision because they're taking action, and then there's a chance that it could work out. But if you stay stuck, then there's no chance of anything happening, because you're not taking action anyway. So the other thing to think about is, do you trust yourself enough? If you don't trust yourself enough, what would you need to do, or what more do you need to have enough more confidence within yourself? Because as a business owner, because I went from being an employer, you know, I was an employee for a long time, you know, for many years. I just went into business, and all of a sudden overnight I've got to make decisions about finances, I've got to make decisions about referrals, I've got to make every decision in my business I've got to make, because I'm a sole trader, there's no one else. That felt scary at first, because I'm thinking, am I making the right decision? There's no one to check in with. There's no one, if this goes wrong, then this is on me. But the more you do it, the more you do anything, the practice you get at it, the better it becomes. It becomes second nature to you. So one thing to get rid of fear of better options, of FOBO, is to just make quick decisions quickly and tell yourself, this is practice. I'm going to learn to make quick decisions when it comes to going to a restaurant and what I'm going to eat on the menu. I'm learning to make quick decisions about what I'm going to have for dinner tonight. I'm making quick decisions about what I'm going to wear. You know, it does work, because your brain gets used to it. So for me, if I open up my wardrobe now, a lot of times I can just choose what I'm going to wear. Other times I can't. It might take me a bit longer, but mostly I can. If I go to a restaurant, I can look on the menu, and because I'm already trained to know what type of food I want to eat and what I like, I'll zone in on those things, and I can choose what to eat probably within 15 minutes. 15 minutes? 10 minutes. I can normally, yeah, that's how quick. Whereas before, if that's something you're not used to doing, then obviously you're going to be sat there. I've seen people, it's like, oh, they can take hours not hours, they can take ages to decide. And I'm thinking, I've been out to eat with people where they're like, I've already ordered and they're sitting there and they can't choose. And it's not to do with fear of better options. It's to do with not having being confident in themselves to like make a decision, because they're worried of, oh, what if I choose the steak and then this is better, or what if this, or what if that. We're all living with what ifs. But what if you just got rid of the what if, and you just said, I'm going to choose and I'm just going to live with that? You know, I'm not saying with every decision you can just live with it, because some decisions are like major, but this is talking about people who can't make minor decisions as well. So the other thing to think about is, what's the point in choosing and then feeling anxious after you've chosen, because you're not giving yourself then any credit for the choice that you've made. You're still feeling anxious. So what if you were to say to yourself, you know, I'm going to get myself to a place where the aftermath of whatever decision I've made is not going to become another issue for me. Because if you're still stressed when you've already made the decision, what is the point in making the decision? And we could all probably learn a bit more with that, you know, instead of having regret, instead of having, you know, emotional reactions afterwards, which are just adding to the level of like stress. We could just say, we're just going to do this. We're just going to make the decision. We're just going to like accept it. We're just going to not beat ourselves up anymore. That's another video in itself, but I think we could do that. So, I mean, everyone, the final thing to say really with this is everyone needs reassurance sometimes. So we all need probably a cheerleader. We all like it when someone is validating us and saying, you know, you've got this, you can do this. Yes, I think this is the right choice for you. But I don't think in the long run that it's helpful, because then what you're doing is you're getting used to being dragged along by another person. I mean, yeah, so as I said, the reassurance bit is good, but the validation part where you have to go to someone else and say to them, what do you think I should do? Or, you know, can you tell me what I need to do? Because you're not giving your brain a chance to then make those decisions that you need to make. You're not giving yourself a chance to build up your power, build up your skills to be able to do that. So what we can all probably do is accept when someone is giving us like maybe the feedback, accept when someone is giving us their opinion, but not allow their opinion or validation to stop you from deciding for yourself. One thing I've learned is that I would rather make the wrong decision, but it would be my decision that I've made, than someone else make a wrong decision for me, because then I've got to live with the fact that I asked them in the first place, and also that it wasn't even my decision, but it still went wrong. And that's something harder to live with, because you can never go back and redo that. So I think this is something you can find a lot of information about online. If you go online, because that's how I learned about it. I didn't know that there was such a thing as FOBO until I read about it, which is why I'm still kind of learning about it myself. But I'm recognising that lots of my clients have probably been talking about this for years, and I didn't realise that's what it was. They were probably more using the term, I can't make a decision, I'm struggling with, I'm indecisive, and it's different from being indecisive. So being indecisive is similar to this, but this is where your decision-making skills are based on the fact that you're fearful of the choice that you make, whereas being indecisive, you've got too many options in your head, you're too stimulated by all of the options and you don't know what to do. Like I said, with that menu, if someone puts a full menu in front of you and it's got too many choices on there, for some people just the idea of going through a 5-page menu is already stopping them from making the decision, because it's just too overwhelming, it's too much stimulation. Whereas being indecisive sometimes just means that you struggle with the idea or the concept of making a decision, because it's like, oh, I don't know how to do this, I don't know how to do. Your brain like kind of what's the word called? Yeah, it's just too much. So all I would say really, and I've probably, you know, I've not covered this brilliantly because, as I've said, I'm still learning about this topic, but I find it an interesting topic because I think, you know, it fits in with the whole like anxiety, it fits in with the being indecisive, it fits in with the seeking validation, boundary stuff, it fits in with a lot of things. but maybe I need to kind of as well do more research on it for myself because I find it interesting. But all I would say to people is just practice making decisions, practice giving yourself, not being hard on yourself, practice saying to yourself before you've made the decision, this is the information I have, so this is all I can choose. Practice not having regrets. And just see what happens, because the same as fear of missing out, there's nothing to fear about missing out on something. There's nothing to fear as well about better options. The only option you need to focus on is the one you've made. The only decision you need to kind of just go with is the choice that you've made, and not to say, well, oh, I wish I'd have chosen that one, because that is the key point of it. It's basically people who make a decision but say, what if I should have gone down box X in box X? What if I would have took, if I've got door A or door B? The person who has a fear of better options will choose door A, but then they'll be worried about door B. Why didn't I choose that? Why didn't I choose that? Well, you don't know. And that's why they're never going to win, because they choose door A and then they regret that. They think about choosing door B, but that's gone. So they never feel satisfied. So I think I've summed it up a little bit, but you could probably find some information, some articles online that will probably explain it a lot better than I did. Thanks to everyone that joined on the live streams. Thank you, Vinod, City, Come Short, and MD, Ratan, Mia. Sorry if I've said people's names wrong. If you've enjoyed this video, leave your comments, but you can also share this with other people because they might enjoy it too. And I'll be back next Monday with a different topic. Thanks to everyone that joins on the live stream. And you can follow me on my Facebook page, Marianne Hanson Counselling Service, on TikTok as Marianne H Counsellor, and on Instagram as Marianne Hanson Counsellor. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.